I watched your ad and found your all's podcast. And it took me a while to really get on board with it because again, I just thought it was just sort of a scam and didn't think much of it. But then, and even when I like paid for the course, I like was waiting for the process and I'm just like, oh gosh, did I really just get scammed? I was just really hoping I was not, this whole thing wasn't a show. But quickly when I started doing it, I realized it was, very much real. And I couldn't understand why anyone else could be doing a different thing. Like, I don't know how people do anything with studying like without super fast, just because it saves you so much time.
Welcome to another episode of the CPA Exam Experience Podcast from SuperfastCPA. I'm Logan, and in today's episode, you're going to hear Nate and I talking to George. Now, George has an awesome story. He emailed us after he passed, and he let us know kind of his story, and that's why we got him on the podcast, because, again, it was awesome. He started out by first studying for the CMA, and he did it the normal way, watching all the lectures, doing all the questions, and it was really difficult. And then he wanted to do the CPA exam, so he started doing that the normal way as well, and it was just really difficult for him. He was halfway through far, he'd been studying hours, he was watching all the lectures, and he told us he was about to resort to reading the textbook, and that's when he found SuperfastCPA. He found the SuperfastCPA podcast, and that kind of introduced him to the SuperfastCPA strategies, and from there, he slowly started implementing the strategies after purchasing SuperfastCPA. And in this interview, you'll see how amazing he did. He scored in the 80s for 3 of his exams and a 93 on another one of his exams, so he did extremely well. He passed all of them in a very short amount of time, and he was working, he had a young child, and they found out that his wife was expecting, which, as I've mentioned before, is very frequently something that motivates people to work harder and to pass a little bit faster. So again, he did incredible with passing the CPA exams, and the thing I want to point out is he did all of this without a smartphone. He had a Dumbphone at the time, so he didn't have access to the internet, he didn't have access to all those things that you typically have access to on your phone. He could only listen to audio notes that he put directly on his phone, and he couldn't access the mini quizzes, he couldn't access the review notes, but he was dedicated and he still did mini quizzes on SuperfastCPA.com and read the review notes as a PDF on his computer. So even though he didn't have a smartphone, he was still able to make all of these strategies happen. And as you can see with the scores I mentioned, and you'll see throughout the rest of the interview, he did incredible and had incredible scores. So this interview is a great one to show that no matter what your circumstances are, whether you like to use a smartphone or not, or if you're busy with a new baby or not, again, no matter what your circumstances, you can pass the CPA exam with the right strategies and the right dedication. Now, before we dive into the interview, I just want to make sure that everybody remembers to go to SuperfastCPA.com and sign up for our free 1-hour webinar training. Again, it's 1 hour, it's free, and we will teach you the key ingredients to passing the CPA exam, so make sure you check that out. Now, with all that, let's dive straight into the interview with George.
That's great. I'm in Kentucky. Go Cards, by the way, Louisville, Kentucky. Been here my entire life and plan to stay here, hopefully, the rest of my life, too.
Well, yeah, so have you listened to any of these other interviews? Do you have a good idea of how these go?
I have. I've listened to maybe too many of them. My wife says I need to stop listening to them so much. Even after I've passed, I've been listening. So, yes, I'm pretty familiar with the layout and format.
Well, yeah, so let's just go back to the beginning. What got you into accounting and made you decide to do the CPA originally?
Yeah, sort of a long story. I'll try to keep it short. But I was initially in school for finance, got my finance bachelor's degree, and really found that it was really hard to get a job in finance unless you wanted to do sales, which I did not want to do. I didn't go to a target school, so my GPA was not great. It was a 2.8, so I really was not a great candidate for a lot of finance jobs. So I kind of looked into accounting because I heard that there was a good, stable career path. And, right before I graduated, I kind of decided to pivot into accounting and seek like a staff accountant role.
Awesome. And so at that point, you just kind of realized starting that job that you should get the CPA. Is that what happened?
Yeah, so early on. So that was like probably 2020. So that was during the pandemic. I kind of realized, I should probably get the CPA, or I was looking at other certifications like the CFA and CFP, but the CPA just seemed a little more attainable. But that was 4 years ago. So clearly a lot's happened since then. I didn't go for it right away for a number of reasons, but I switched jobs I had to take accounting courses to actually sit for the exam
Yeah,
because
that's
I
what I
had
was
a
going to ask.
finance
Yeah.
degree. So that kind of put a wrench in my plan because I was like, oh, well, I'll just, I'm single, don't have much going on. I'll just study for these exams now. But um, come to figure out I have to take 30 credit hours to sit for it.
Hmm.
So I had to take all accounting classes pretty much from ground zero. Um, and then years later, I just finished my accounting classes the beginning of this year. So it took me a long time to finish those because,
Hmm.
life got in the way. So a lot of things happened in between then. So, um, that really delayed it a lot, but finally was able to do it, obviously.
Yeah.
So, when you first started studying, just what did you do? Get a review course? I mean, what was your first few months of studying like?
Not fun. I really tried to do it the old way because I had done the CMA, the Certified Management
Hmm.
Accountant, and so I did that
Mm.
last year, and did that. Watched all the videos, did all the questions, all the essays, and everything that they told me to do, all the practice exams. And so I figured I'd do the same thing with Becker, and that's the provider I used for audit, which is my
Hmm.
first section. And so I went in, studied in the morning, but also studied at night. Did all the sims, all the MCQs, lecture videos, did every single thing. Because I like to, see the green check marks and get everything
Yeah.
done. So in
Mm.
Yeah.
Becker, they have an exam day ready thing, and I just was like really focused on getting that because I was like, oh, if I fail, then they'll pay it back, and so I really just wanted to get that done. So I try to do every single thing in Becker possible. So that was my first stab at studying, and it went fine, obviously, because I did pass the first one, but it just took so long,
Yeah.
Hmm.
and it was very stressful. I was so mentally drained, when I got home, and um, it just felt way, far too much for me, especially with a newborn at the time. I was like, well,
Hmm.
I got to figure out a better way because I cannot do this three more times. I mean, four
Yeah.
exams, that's just crazy. But
Yeah.
I just was weighing on me and, my wife and obviously our son. So I had to figure out a better way.
So I just want to kind of talk about that just for a second before we jump into when you found Superfast CPA. So you mentioned you had a newborn. In that time from 2020 till you passed audit, you said a lot happened. You don't have to say everything, but I'm assuming you got married and then you had a newborn. Were you studying while you had your newborn son, or what was that like? That must have. I mean, I've been through that. So
Yeah.
what? Yeah, what was that like? Yeah.
Yeah. So again, not to go too long on this, but I got my first job 2021 in accounting, and then took the classes very gradually. Was getting experience in the industry, and then into 2021, I met my now wife, and so that, not to say that got in the way, but obviously my priorities shifted
Hmm.
greatly
Yep.
with that. And so then we got married in 2022, and then soon after, she was pregnant, and we had our first, and then so just kind of a lot of things happened in
Yeah.
2022 and 23 that really, kind of slowed my class schedule
Yeah.
down a little bit because I don't like school at all. So it really was. I actually preferred studying than school.
Hmm.
I can't stand doing the homework assignments and discussion boards. So I'm glad that that's over. But that just took a long time for me. And regarding your newborn question, yeah, I mean that was tricky for sure. I've got to credit my wife for her patience and endurance during that time because he was getting up every 3 hours pretty much from birth until 10 months. So,
Oof.
and she would get up with him. Like I rarely ever got up. And so she was doing that. She was keeping track of all of his meals and all these other things that just would have really, been a burden to me as far as my studying goes. So she really took up a lot for me. And so I don't know how I could have done it without her,
Yeah.
Mm.
And
for sure.
yeah, and that kind of brings that back to your point of before you found Superfast CPA, you're like, how could I possibly do this? Because you're both going through a lot,
Oh
and
yeah.
you'd only taken one exam. So like, how are you going to do that with three more exams? So I can understand why you started looking. So when did you find Superfast CPA? Like, how did that happen, and what was that story?
Yeah, so I actually found you all back in 2020, or
Mm.
maybe even after that. But I was thinking about doing the CPA then, and I was like, oh, this seems a little gimmicky. It doesn't, I'm not sure if this really works. Like,
Yeah.
how can you study only 2 hours a day and get it done? It really didn't make sense to me. But 3 years later, I watched your ad and found your all's podcast, and it took me a while to really on board with it because again, I just thought it was just sort of a scam and didn't think much of it. But then, and even when I like paid for the course, I like was waiting for the process, and I'm just like, oh gosh, did I really just get scammed? I was just really hoping I was not, this whole thing wasn't a show. But quickly when I started doing it, I realized it was, very much real, and I couldn't understand why anyone else could be doing a different thing. Like I don't know how people do anything with studying like without super fast, just because it saves you so much time. So
Yeah.
now I'm the biggest believer and the biggest promoter of it to all my peers. So I'm glad I found it for sure.
That's
That's good to
awesome.
hear.
Yeah, the story arc is interesting because you did pass, your first section. And we've
Mhm.
heard that a decent amount. Usually someone either, I guess there's basically three things. Like someone either finds us first thing in their process and they watch our webinar and it makes sense and they just follow it and do it and pass. Or it's someone that struggled for years, finds our ads eventually and, comes in that way. Or your story arc, which I almost like the best because you passed, but you're like, okay, everything that took, I can't do that three more times. Yeah, it's just interesting. So once you got our pro course, I'm assuming, or watched the videos or whatever, and changed your strategies, what were the biggest differences in how you studied versus the your first time on audit?
Yeah, so I found it a little bit into FAR, and so I was done with the first unit, and so again, my old methods, I would just watch the videos and do all the questions and try to do it all very systematically, like how they preach it at Becker. But then there was one unit or one section I forgot. It might have been EPS or something with equity, and I was like, "This is awful." I'm like getting terrible scores on multiple choice. These lectures are 2 hours long, like per module, and I was just like, "This is like just crazy." And I was like reading the book, which I don't ever read the book, so like I was like really desperate to like find an answer. So that's when I found you all, because I was like, there's just got to be a better way. And during the beginning parts of FAR, that's when I started implementing the tools, and I listened to the podcasts. I watched your free training webinar, and I also purchased your review materials like the notes and the lectures and the quick mini quizzes.
Yeah.
Um, I purchased all that and then started implementing that right away, pretty much, because I just knew that was the better way for sure. Just from hearing other people's testimonies, which really helped a lot, it helped validate what your all's methods were. Hearing so many other people and their different, struggles, but how it was all pretty much answered through your all's, material and methods.
Okay. And so when you started using everything, studying differently, and like you said a minute ago, at first even you were like, still not sure I,
Mhm.
buy this. So how long did it take for that to click where you're like, okay, this is working better in less time type thing?
Yeah, I feel like it took a couple weeks because again, I was in the middle of FAR, so some of the concepts there are just really tricky. So I was like, I'm not watching the lecture videos. I'm not, reading the book. So it's like I don't really understand what I'm doing when I do these questions. But eventually, I started to first of all figure out how to answer them better because I was really trying to figure it out in my head and really
Mhm.
read the explanation. And I went in with no ego, no expectation. So it was just like going in like, with a clean slate in my head, like, all right, I just want to tackle these and I have no expectation to get all of them right, which is what I used to have.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And that's why it was so
Yeah.
frustrating. So, it took me a while to sort of see those results and really believe in the process. But what really sealed it for me was the re-review because that really, the daily 30 questions, refresher was just so big because I think with all your methods, I don't think it could be possible without the refresher, because you just got to
Mm-hmm.
keep reviewing,
Mhm.
whether that's through the 30 MCQs or the review notes and other things. I think that was what really made it real to me, seeing those results and the hard numbers of my percentages going up and up, and my
Yeah.
understanding as well.
Yeah, you could see the tangible improvement. So with that, you see that you start seeing the improvement. How long did you study for audit to be able to pass it? Because you did everything, and then compare that to the other exams. Were you able to accelerate your timeline? Like, what was the difference as far as timing from there?
Yeah, so funny story. To convince my wife to let me take the CPA, I had to present to her my what I was going to do, and so I presented her a timeline of when I was expecting to finish it. After taking the classes and doing the tests, and so I was expecting to finish it by next July. So it was over a year from now. Kind of answer your question, I was planning on doing 2 to 3 months per exam. I think I was even doing 3 to 4 months for FAR. So I was really, really stretching it out and taking breaks and,
Mm-hmm.
just really, really stretching all those tests out. But in the end, audit took me 2 months, and then FAR again would have taken me 3 to 4, but I did it in a month and a half. And then
Mhm.
Reg and ISC took me a month or less each. So I really tried to shrink that timeline almost in half, probably more. Um, just because as I took them, I'm like, man, I don't need all that time. Like, I don't need to,
Mm-hmm.
really elongate it, because I knew people who were, studying with me, or my coworkers who were doing it, that were really taking their time. And I was just, as I was studying with your all's method, I was just like, I feel like there's just got to be a better way. Like, it doesn't take that long,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
for me anyway. And I'm no genius. So, I just, as I was going along, it just felt easier and easier.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's exactly how, like, yeah, that's great to hear. And that's really cool that you well, when did you finish? Like, when did you get your last passing score?
I got my last passing score 2 weeks ago. So I took my last exam late July, July 29th. So,
So a year ahead
you
of
know,
Almost 2 months later. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep. A year ahead.
March 25th was audit, my first exam, and then July 29th was ISC, which is my last. So yeah, I mean, it would have been June of next year that I was planning on being done. So I can only imagine how awful my life would have been over the next year if I had, waited that long.
So instead of, I think, sorry, I just like kind of think about how you said that you were planning on like roughly like
half,
12 to 18 months, something like that. But you did it in, I think if I'm doing the math right, like 6 or 7 months. Is that right?
which is
Yes.
amazing with these
Yeah.
2024
Yeah.
score releases. That's been so
Yeah.
annoying for people because it's
Hmm.
just so different than how it used to be.
Yes. That I think. I mean, it was really hard to study for these, and obviously to take them was hard. But I think the worst part was waiting, because
Mhm.
I'm not a very patient person, so I just wanted to know my results right away, because I knew that they were, generated the second
Yeah,
you
it's
turned it in. Like, none of these are fill in the blank, essay questions like the CMA. I mean, it's all, pretty much the system knows when you're right or wrong. So I was like, why have to wait so long? And so I really tried to space it out in a way that I got my scores the quickest I could, which still was a month, at least a month for each one. But I really tried to space it out and just try to optimize that and not be waiting too long.
Did that mean that you were getting multiple scores at the same time? Like at least once you probably got two scores at the same time. Is that right?
I got FAR and Reg at the same time, which was
Okay.
quite a day, I will
I bet.
say. Because, those are the first ones I did with the Earl's method. So I was like, doubting myself. I was like, oh, well, did I really pass? Like, maybe I failed really badly. Like, I just didn't know. But seeing those two passing scores, I was like, oh, well, this is the truth. Like, this works for sure.
That is cool.
This is the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe that's too lame.
Yeah.
But well, if it's all right, I do have a question that
Yeah.
I am very interested in asking you. So you mentioned in your email / in your post in the forum that you didn't have a smartphone, right? This
Right.
whole time as well. Like, so not
Yeah.
only did you pass in like 6-ish months, you didn't have a smartphone. So like, you don't have to tell us all the reasons you don't have it if you don't want to, but yeah, I'm really curious to know like what, like, you had a dumb phone, and how did you do it with all that? Yeah.
Honestly, I don't even know. I think, before I even started studying, I, switched from an iPhone to a dumb phone. And, it was for a lot of reasons. And really, distractions is one of those reasons,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
just because I was on my phone so much, and I was on YouTube, I was on Twitch, I was on all these, nothing wrong with them, but just I was just so much time was taken in my day for
Mm-hmm.
those. So my screen times were like 8 to 9 hours. So I was over it. So that's kind of one of the main reasons why I switched. But regarding, this method, obviously one of the ways to do super fast is to, do it on your phone. So I really had to adapt. I did use my wife's phone a couple times, Testday. I would take her phone and I would do all my stuff on there. But yeah, I mean, most days I did not ever have access to it. So I had to go online to your website and do the mini quizzes on your website, and then obviously do the PDFs, the review notes
Yeah.
on my computer, and then the lecture audios I had to download and put on this dumb phone. And
Hmm.
there's no there was no speed thing or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
I couldn't increase the speed, the playback speed. So I just, not to say it was boring, but it just took a while to listen to all of them because I couldn't
It's
really
okay.
sit
You can
through.
say it's kind of boring.
Some of those reg ones, yeah. I mean, it's tax, so you can't really make it too exciting.
Hmm. I actually have done. I'm actually quite interested in dumb phones just because I feel the same way. Like I I've never quite been to that, like, 8 hours or whatever on my phone, but I definitely have felt as the years have gone on this just tax of the phone. Like I just feel like it's always pulling me. So personally, I've like, and I'm not preaching to the world saying you should do this, but I've like kind of made my iPhone into a dumb phone. But I've been very interested in like an
Mhm.
actual dumb phone. What kind do you have? Do you have like a light phone or something else, or what do you use?
So what's funny is I actually have an iPhone now. So
Ah, okay,
I did
okay,
have it was called the Light Phone.
yeah,
So
the light phone too. Yeah,
yes, and it was truly, I mean, there was nothing on there. Like it was
yeah,
just bare
yeah.
bones. Texting on that thing was horrible.
Because doesn't it have an e-ink screen?
yeah, it's really, and
Yeah.
it's really small. So again, it's really, and this could be a tip for other people. Just get off your phone unless you're using it for study methods. But man, it's just so distracting, and it just wastes so
Hmm.
much time, especially when you're studying for an exam like this. I just can only imagine, because for the CMA, I had my phone, fully. And I just remember watching so much YouTube just because I was so bored, and going down rabbit holes and watching stuff where it's like, why am I even watching this? I just don't want to study.
Hmm.
I'm using this as
Yeah.
an excuse. So
Hmm.
I just think
Exactly.
that if anyone can, I would recommend them either getting a dumb phone or dumbing their iPhone down or something.
Yep.
Just to,
I'm an
Yeah.
advocate for that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Deleting all the apps. I mean, that's how I had the idea of just studying from your phone could be so valuable because even when I started working in public, I just realized that I was reading like the entirety of ESPN like once a day, just in these 5 and 10 minute chunks constantly. And that's where I was like, okay, I could be like studying because I hate this. I want to get these over with as quickly as possible. And so I just switched all my phone time to study time. And yeah, anyways. So
Yeah.
what made you
Cool. That's
switch
awesome
back
though.
to the iPhone now?
I don't really know. I think, you know, this is going to sound crazy, but it's actually cheaper to switch back because, my iPhone, I had it obviously paid off. So with the Light phone, you got to pay $30 a month. And so I was like, well, I want to,
Yeah.
lower that rate. So we switched to a different provider, and I pay like half of that. So really it was like a financial decision over anything. But also I was like, well, now that I have gone without it for a year, I've dumbed it down, as you said, Logan. So I've tried to find a way to make it, less smart, I guess. But I just figured I can get by with it now, and feel like I've done my time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like this is not an ad for light phone or whatever. I just think, but just in general,
Right.
like, I think that simplifying your phone, whether in general or at least for studying for the exam, because turning it into a tool instead of letting it be a distraction, you know. Anyway, I was very curious to talk to you about that because that's something that I think about a lot. So I like that. I like what you said there. So were you able to do you were only able to do mini quizzes typically on the computer then. So when you were away from work, you pretty much audio notes was kind of the go-to, I'm guessing. Is that right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So just listen to them in the car on my commute, or when I went on a run, or mowed the lawn or something.
Yeah.
Really tried to find, yeah, because I wasn't able to do it as often, so I really tried to use my time, when I had idle time, to just listen to stuff. I really tried to keep it just to the lecture notes, um,
Yeah.
just because I wasn't able, like when I'm at home with my wife and son, I couldn't do it then. I mean, it's just I had to
Yeah.
really find the time. I had to really,
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you set up like every 30 minutes I'm going to do a quiz on the website, or what was since it wasn't like the habit of picking up your phone, what was the trigger to do those then throughout the day?
Yeah, so like, at work I would just, say yeah, like every hour or so, or try to get, five done, before lunchtime, or, something like that, where I kind of give myself a goal, especially when it came to like right before the test. So like the week or so leading up, I would really try to make a regimen with that and be more disciplined.
Okay.
But normally when I was just studying, I wasn't as like focused on that. But yeah,
Yeah, just do
yeah.
5 questions an hour or something. That's just a good idea in general. One thing I was going to ask is, what was your average day like? Did you do the 2 hours in the morning, or how'd your whole day go in general?
Mhm.
Yeah, so another thing that was huge is the mornings. Because again, having children, I know some people will
Mhm.
say late night too. I can see either way. It's really whenever they're not awake,
Yeah.
when you want to do it. But for me, it was the morning because, my wife was also asleep. So it was just good time. The house was quiet. I tried to wake up at 5:30 every morning. Just kind of depended on how I was feeling, but usually by 5:30 I was up and going, and tried to do 2 hours before I went into work or started work. Because sometimes I would do 1 hour at home and then do 1 hour, in the office right before work. Because my work, I'm very spoiled. My work had a nice facility, so they had conference rooms and a bunch of rooms you could go into where it was like very quiet. So I
Mhm.
utilized those a lot before work as well. But yeah, the mornings were huge. I think again that was probably top three biggest thing for me was the mornings, and trying to do it before you start your day,
Mm-hmm.
so that when you come home, you don't have to worry about studying, or going away from the dinner table and getting your laptop and out some review stuff.
Mhm.
It happens sometimes, I can't lie, but
Yeah.
it wasn't a habit. So I think just doing it in the morning, getting done with it, making it a routine was like so important.
Yeah.
And with the evenings, what did that mean for your evenings? Were you able to spend time with your family, friends, hobby? Like, what were you able to do?
Yeah, not a whole lot of hobbies during this time, I will say. People
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
ask, "What are your hobbies?" I'm like, right now, survive. I think that was my hobby.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'd say,
Get
I
sleep.
was one thing I will say, yeah, exactly. One thing I will say is, I was still mentally pretty tired after work. After studying in
Mhm.
the morning and going through work. So, I think again, just kind of going through my duties and obligations, and spending time with my wife, eating dinner, helping her, with our son while she was making dinner, and just trying to be present in that way. Again, it wasn't perfect all the time, but just yeah, trying to be help her out, because I knew again she would get up with him. She was usually with him most of the day, so I just knew that she was always very tired as well. I wasn't the only
Yeah.
one, so
Mhm.
just trying to help her out the best I could, and sometimes was able to do fun things, but and those were, I'm not saying helping her out wasn't fun. Just was not like a hobby or something that I
Mhm.
do on my own, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, in contrast, like, yeah, if each night you're coming home from work and then as soon as dinner's over, you're like, well, take care of everything. I got to go study.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
It's just so
that,
much easier. I always say this, but it just solves so many problems to lock it away in the
mhm.
morning and then it's just done.
Yeah, because my last exam, CMA and also audit, like I would, and this is before we had children, but I'd come home and I'd be up until like 10 or 11, you know, time where we would like be able to watch a show or like do something together. I would just be watching my lecture videos and probably not learning a whole lot either, just
Mm-hmm.
thinking I was learning something. So I just really am glad that wasn't the case, because again, like both of our patience was getting low, but I know
Mm-hmm.
hers was, especially just with like
Oh yeah.
me doing nightly studying, and just that's just a lot of time taken away from spending time with her, and also helping her out really was the main thing too.
Yeah. So what was kind of the discussion between you and your wife after your first exam, where it did take so much time and even at night you were studying? Did she have comments like, I mean, good job, you passed, but holy cow, I don't think I can, three more times of this?
Right. Well, I mean, I didn't know I passed until
Mm.
Right. Right.
after FAR. So it was, again, the whole release window just really was not ideal because I took FAR without knowing about audit. So I really didn't know if I'd passed. So I was kind of gambling in a way, finding a new method completely, because I was like, well, technically, my last exams, my method did work. So I'm like, maybe I shouldn't switch it because that could be like stupid, but I was like, just I gotta spare time. I gotta save it. So we did kind of have that discussion because she could tell I was getting kind of frustrated, and just like when I was taking the quizzes, as I told you, like I thought I would do well in them, but then with FAR I was like bombing them. So I just was getting so frustrated, and studying was just so much more mature. So I think she kind of noticed that, and I think she was all on board with trying to save her time and allow me to be more present. So she definitely was on board with it once she realized the payoff.
Yeah.
And what was your so kind of switching to another part of the process? What was your strategy for like for the Sims for the weekends? Did you study more on the weekends? Did you study the Sims? What was behind that?
Yeah. So after I found you all, I really didn't do many sims whatsoever. Only maybe the week before the exam, I would maybe do one or two, if that. But I really tried to avoid them because with audit, the good thing about audit doing it first is the questions and the sims are so tricky, um, that I really got exposed to how they asked them. And so with FAR, I don't think they asked them as trickyly, but they asked, the content's harder. So I think audit was a good sort of exposure to a lot of the sims. So I really was like, I don't really need to see them because I feel like audit really just was a lot in terms of how they asked
Mm-hmm.
them, and they're just so tricky. So I just try not to waste too much time on them in my mind, just because I knew it took me forever to do them. I mean, gosh, some of those modules had like 6 or 7 sims for FAR, and I just knew those would probably take me 30 minutes each, and that's like uh, what, over two and a half,
Yeah.
3 or 4 hours.
for yeah,
Yeah.
over 3 hours. So um, I just like I could do 100 questions in that time,
Mm-hmm.
and learn a whole lot more. So eventually I just stopped doing them almost entirely, unless it was right before the exam, and I wanted to at least look at the hard ones and kind of see how they worked, especially with reg and far. With some of their sims are just kind of crazy. So and I, looking back, I wish I'd done that more for far, but I kind of, I guess I turned out okay. But yeah, so I really tried to do those sparingly. And I also, regarding the weekends, I really didn't study more on the weekends. I really tried to keep it pretty consistent every single day. So I would, again, never ever take a day off. I mean, it would have taken a lot for me to take a day off, and I never did. Our son went to the hospital a couple times with just being sick, and in the ER, I was still going through the questions. I was still, doing my dailies.
Yeah.
Even though I was off work, I was still trying to keep it up because I knew that I had to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And any day off would have been a reason to take another day off, or to,
Mm-hmm.
take my foot off the pedal.
Yeah.
Even on vacations, we went on 2 vacations during reg and far, I guess, and didn't take a day off. So I just really tried to do it every single day.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, this is definitely something I'm very passionate about. Like, I think that too often, and I understand like needing to take a break. I can understand that, but
Yeah.
I'm just so hesitant to tell people, yeah, you can do that, just because, like you said, it is so easy to you take one day off. You're like, well, that was okay. I'll just take another one. Like, it's so easy to
Mhm.
fall out of the habit. So that's why I'm always so hesitant to tell people, yeah, it's okay to do it. I'm like, no, you got to be doing it every day. So, and you can do it every day. Like
Yes.
you went on vacation and you still did it. It's
Yeah.
You can do it every day, almost no matter what. So
Yeah,
yeah.
we get emails like people kind of asking, almost like asking permission to not. They're like, I'm going on a trip, and then this is happening. So like, out of the next 6 weeks, I'll only have like 2 weeks I can really even study. So, what
Hmm.
can I do to pass? Like, kind of asking for a miracle, And it's
Right.
like, well, you can study on a trip. I mean, I don't know. It's you got to do what you got to do. Like, it's you that's going to
Mm.
walk in and take the exam.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, that's I had the same attitude for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just easier.
Well, I
Like, to
remember.
me it was easier to
Yeah.
just accept I'm not taking
Right.
any days off.
Yeah, I remember in the podcast you had a while back, you said something like, how badly do you want it? I mean, how
Mm-hmm.
much are you willing to do? And so I just kept thinking that over and over. Like, again, when I was studying in very inconvenient times, I was, just like, I mean, how bad do I want it? Do I want to get this over with now? Or do I want to be like everyone else and wait till next year and fail more and, just keep extending it? Just wanted to get it over now because, with the family and everything, just time is so precious. So,
Mm-hmm.
willing to do pretty much anything to get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one question I had, how did you, so you start studying for FAR, you said initially you had 3 or even 4 months kind of budgeted for that. What was happening where you realized, okay, I'm way ahead of schedule? Did you like pay to move your exam date sooner, or how'd you shorten that timeline? Like, what actually happened for you to shorten the timeline?
Yeah. So when I did the NTS, I actually put on 3 exams in one window before I even knew about Superfast. So I don't even know why I did that. I think it was actually either a good mistake I made, but I figured I have 2 more exams to do in this 6 month window or whatever it is. So I just figured I had to get it done. Um, so yeah, that's kind of was my main motivator. But then once I found you all, I realized I don't need to take a 3 week final review. I don't need to watch every lecture video, which I tallied the time for that for audit, and I think I took 25 hours just on lecture videos, and that's with it 1.5 speed playback. So like I can't imagine
And not
watching.
rewatching them. People rewatch them all the time too.
Yeah.
And they take notes during them and go back
Hmm.
and I didn't read the book, so I can only imagine doing that because in those lecture videos they always say to you know watch the lecture video and then go back and read the chapter and then try the questions, and it's just a lot to do. And I mean there's so many pages in those books. They've shortened it since this new evolution, but I mean there's still a lot of pages and that's just a lot of time. So I think realizing that I don't need to do all that. I don't need to get in a 3 week window. I don't need to take all the practice tests. I just think that not doing that, I was like, I don't need. I can just use a 1 week review, final review, or maybe 2 week,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't need to extend it out so much because it's in reality it's really not that complicated. You just got to get through the material, get confident, and obviously take the exam.
Yeah. You said this earlier, I'm pretty sure, but just on a daily basis, once you got these methods kind of nailed down, I'm assuming, but again, I think you even said this, did just the whole study process feel maybe not easy, but much easier compared to, your audit attempt?
Yes, definitely. I would say it kind of felt like a routine. I just didn't really think about it. I just knew I had to do it, and I think a big thing with this method is having momentum. And so again,
Mm-hmm.
once I saw that first passing score or first two, really, I mean, especially for ISC, it was like automatic. Like I was super confident. I knew what I had to do every day. I had my schedule laid out, so I knew what modules I had to hit each day and what questions to hit. So I think eventually, yeah, it got pretty easy. I mean, the material obviously wasn't necessarily easy, but the whole process, I just didn't really have to think about it. I knew I had my 30 question re-review, and it just became automatic. I didn't have to worry too much about my study process at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just becomes repeatable, formulaic, and then, yeah.
Oh yes.
Did your wife notice a difference in how you were, like how you felt and things? Like, did she notice a difference too?
I would say so. I would have to ask her maybe to her real perspective, but I was still um, pretty, what's the word, tired, I guess. But,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think as compared to what it could have been, I think it was much better. So I think, to her, obviously I was still very mentally, physically tired. But I think that she noticed, especially my, studying was like less than it used to be. Like I spent less time doing it. I was less, like frustrated, I guess is a good way to
Hmm.
say it. And I complain about it less. Um, so there were a lot of things, and she'd also hear way less lecture videos
Mm.
because I used to play them out loud, and so she got real tired of hearing some of those. So I think, yeah, she definitely noticed a huge difference, in a lot of ways. But
And you were done way faster than planned, so I'm sure that
oh
was a big
yes,
help
Yeah.
too.
that
Yeah.
was the biggest thing, because I think it was early July, right before, or mid July, right before my last exam. We found out we were having another child. So then it was like, all
Congrats.
right, and this is before. Thank you, I appreciate it. This is before I found out about FAR and Reg. So like, and this is before I took ISC. So I was like, I have to pass. Like, there's no like pushing it back. There's no
Hmm.
waiting 3 months for another, score release. Like I have to do it right now. So that was the ultimate motivator once we found that out. So yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, that means you probably have only she's only been. Have you been able to do like the blood test or the anatomy scan yet? Do you know if it's a boy or girl yet?
No, we're trying to figure that out. We've had some appointments, and we haven't
Yeah.
gotten the
Yeah.
gender yet.
It takes a while, so then yeah.
Yeah.
But I was just curious. Uh, well, that's awesome. I had another thing that I always like to ask, or that we always like to ask, is this is kind of related to the flashcards, but more generally, like, what was your method for? Okay, I'm really struggling with this specific topic. Like, how did you break that down and understand it? Was it flashcards or was it something else?
Yeah, so I've kind of tried everything. Initially, I tried flashcards, and I feel like I didn't really learn how to do them correctly until the very end. But I used to just write everything down on the flashcard, and I would have like hundreds of them, and so I just wouldn't know what is important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think for me, what really helped understand a difficult topic was just writing it out. So, and doing a problem. I mean, that was really what it came down to, is like, do I understand how they're going to ask it? Do I understand the answer as well? So just really trying to find difficult problems with whatever topic I want to, look more into, and really try to write everything out, sort of explain it in my head, very thoughtfully, and just try to, do that over and over again,
Hmm.
a different, space it out, like today do it, and then, do it again, tomorrow and next day. So just really try to explain things in my head or write it out as well, just by doing the problem itself. Really, FAR was the one that really got me with a lot of concepts that I really wasn't confident in. Reg a little bit too, but FAR I just really wrote it out and just again really just did the problem over and over again.
Yeah.
And and ISC also, because I have no IT audit or any IT experience, so that one was a little bit of a curveball. So a lot of
Mm-hmm.
the IT systems and the networks and things like that were definitely not something I've been used to. So I actually had a coworker at work explain to me, like he drew out the whole network infrastructure of our company, and kind of explained it more in a real world sense. But for me, I'm a visual learner, so just seeing someone explain it but also draw it out, allowing me to ask questions, I mean, that helped a lot for sure. But again, yeah, for me, I'm a visual person, so just trying to draw it all out and see
I
it.
like that idea. Yeah, like asking somebody who is an expert in maybe the topic you're struggling with. If you have that ability, that's probably a great way to have somebody like sit down and talk to you about it. I mean, obviously, in the end, you need to be able to answer a question about it, but
Right.
that was probably really helpful. So that could be something that people can do sometimes too.
What were you, if you remember, as you, I don't know, the last week before each exam, what were you scoring on your sets of 30 each time?
So for FAR, not the best. I think I was doing like 80s maybe. And again, my personality, I'm very hard on myself. So, if I'm not scoring 100, like I'm kind of, I feel like, oh, I should do better.
Mm.
Um, so I think that even though I feel like 80s are actually good looking back, um,
Hmm.
I just always thought I can do better. I know I can do better. And so, as I was doing reg and ISC, I mean, it was nearing 100 for ISC especially. And so that again gave me a lot of confidence, because I knew that if I'm scoring all these pretty good scores on these 30s sets of 30, then I don't know what else they can ask me on the exam. I
Mhm.
know even the review material questions are harder than what's on the exam for sure. So I just had a lot of confidence going in because of the seeing those scores. Um,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah. When you said, "Oh, not that great on FAR," and then you say in the 80s, I'm like, that's really good. I think for FAR I was like in the 70s, like all the way up to the exam. So anyway, you obviously did really well.
Yeah. I mean
Yeah,
that
that's
yeah,
awesome.
the scores on sets of 30 can be somewhat arbitrary, but the nice is it's just you're doing it. I mean, if you're doing it right, you're doing it daily. So you have
Mhm.
weeks of kind of arbitrary, the mix of questions you saw.
Yeah,
You spend 4 hours doing that, and then you get a 65, and then you're, terrified you're going to go in and fail or whatever.
yeah.
But yeah, the sets of 30 again is just
Oh yeah.
solve so many problems in advance.
And doing those over the practice exams, because I feel like those take up so much time. And I, again, for audit, I did all three of them, and they're 4 hours each.
Hmm.
So that's over 12 hours you're doing on just practice exams. And so I was like, instead of spending 12 hours on spaced out questions and sims and stuff that like is really hard, but like I'd rather just see repetitive 30 sets of 30 and just keep cycling through those. And again, that's what I did the last three exams. I just tried to avoid the practice exams almost entirely, except I did do the multiple choice questions and sort of did them out of time and just kind of exited out of the browser and then came back and would do them again. So
Mhm.
because with Becker it like kind of locks down your browser just because it kind of simulates the actual test day.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I just try to figure out a way to like not uh, you know have the timer be a factor, but just exit out and come back and resume it later.
Yeah.
Because the questions were good. It just was like I'm not going to sit down for 4 hours and go to a library, which is what I used to do, and just like hammer it out and be exhausted the
Hmm.
rest of the day, and just not want to study the next couple days either. So I just really try to avoid that at all costs.
Yeah. So I think you kind of mentioned what did you aim for a final review? Meaning, like, did you leave a week? And then what did your study sessions consist of during your final review?
Yeah, so try to leave at least a week. With FAR, I think it had maybe 2 weeks, a little less, and then Reg and IC were about a week. So I really tried to just get as many questions as I could, like just try to get through all the material. Do the sets of 30. Um, I also use Ninja just for the questions, so
Hmm.
I would highly recommend Ninja as a supplement. I mean, I know Superfast is a supplement as well.
Yeah.
But just as far as the price goes, it's such a good
Right.
value,
Mhm.
and the
Yeah. I
questions
mean,
are
yeah.
just the questions are good. Yeah, obviously they have their own method, which confused me, so I just didn't really even worry about it. But um, the questions there are really good. So like if you hammer those out, combine those with Becker, and obviously your all's mini quizzes, like just as much exposure as you can. So that's again what I was trying to do was just get as many questions as I could, whether it's mini quizzes, Becker, Ninja, whatever. Just try to get those cycled through. And I think for Reg, I think 2 days before the exam, I did like 300. So I really tried to like take as many as I could per day.
Hmm.
So I wouldn't recommend that. That was a lot for one day, but
Mhm.
that's I guess that's what it took. But
Now, to do that, did you try to set your exams on a Monday so that you had Saturday and Sunday?
yes, I try to do Mondays because for audit I did Saturday, which was a big mistake. But for FAR and Reg, I think I did Mondays, and I think I might have done a Tuesday, but I think it wasn't my choice. I think it had to be scheduled on a Tuesday, so
Mhm.
um, I forgot how that worked. But yeah, so I try to do it after the weekend because I didn't really take much time off for work except obviously the test day. So yeah, that was also a really good piece of advice was the doing it on Monday for
Hmm.
sure because that just doing on the weekend studying final review was like super big for me.
There's a bunch of just little things you can do kind of
Mm.
strategically that are each worth
Oh
arbitrarily about 3 to 5 points maybe that where most failing scores are like a 67 to a 74 that can just there's these little things that can just make the difference. Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
being confident on test day too. Like I remember for audit, I was super nervous. I was a wreck, almost left because I was just like not enjoying it at all. Um, and so I think going in with FAR, Reg, and ISC, just like trying to be more confident. Again, if you're studying well and reviewing well, you get that confidence pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was, again, a differentiator, like a difference from a 75 or 74 to, a 75
Hmm.
potentially. It's just your mindset going in and not, yeah, just being so stressed out.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, yeah, sounds like you killed it, honestly.
Yes.
Um, is there anything else before we kind of wrap up? That we haven't gotten to that you kind of wanted to talk about for your own story?
Yeah. So, um, trying to think, I would say that, again, scheduling your exam on Mondays and just trying to, you know, calm down before and just sort of not think of it as like the end of the world. Because some people just put so much weight on themselves, um, which I did beforehand. But during the test day, I was just like, all right, I'm here. Like I can't really do a whole lot more. Can't cram anymore. Like I just got to take it, and just go through it. I think that's what really helped. Also, getting through the MCQs quickly. I didn't mention that.
Hmm.
Sorry, but uh, like that was huge, because I would have so much time for sims. I had at least 2 hours each time for sims.
Hmm.
Um, ISC, I think I might have had 30 or not 30, 3 hours for the sims, and those are even like they're not even that many sims. So it's 6 sims for ISC. So,
Yeah, there's
um,
like 80 ISC multiple choice questions, and you still got through it in an hour.
oh yeah, no, I tried to get through that. I left an hour early for that one too, just because I mean I was just so confident, and I was like, all right,
Yeah.
that's all I can do, and I was done.
Hmm.
Because yeah, I just think that the test day anxiety can really get people bad, and so I think that that's something I really tried to get better at. And I went in and it was like a normal day. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
all right, going for a test and just like every other day. So it just really this whole methodology really helped with that, just the confidence and the everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. Doing so many sets of 30, it's just something that isn't going to make you that nervous because you've done it so much.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Well, awesome. That was awesome to hear your story, George. Finishing a year before you were planning on originally. That's really cool.
Yeah,
So I'm glad you found us or decided to give it a try. And congrats on being done.
Yeah.
thank you. It's been such a relief being done. Trust me. So excited to
Yeah.
Absolutely.
now I'm applying for the license, so that's a whole nother thing. But
Hmm.
yeah, I'm
It's
just
way easier than taking the
Yeah,
exam.
the bad
Yeah.
part's
you
over.
got yeah, and everyone's asking me, oh, what's next? And I was like, nothing. I'm never doing anything again. This is the last
Mm-hmm.
thing.
No school, no
Uh,
licenses. That's it.
no, nothing else because this was it was a lot. But I think again with
Mhm.
this whole method, I wouldn't do it again, but I would for a lot of reasons. But I think it went so much better than it could have, and I'm thankful that you all help implement these practices and help teach people these things, and it helped tremendously. So I'm
Yeah.
telling all my friends. I will still tell all my friends, and just really try to push your all's methodologies.
Yeah, that's
That's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah. If you could sum up the benefits you got from Superfast CPA, whether it's the strategies or the study tools or a combination, how would you sum that up as to how it helped you specifically?
I would just say efficiency. Um, really utilizing your time well, and uh, yeah, I think that's really the main thing for me, and not going through the minutia of the lecture videos. Just doing what everyone else says to do. Take a bunch of notes. Um, just think there's so much that you all preach that, yeah, is just really good with efficiency, staying on task, staying disciplined, using all of your tools you can, but not in the way that they say to do it, but in the way that uses it effectively. Because they say to use the book and the lectures and everything else, but um, I think you all really provide a good model for just efficient studying, not wasting time. People take way too long for these things when they don't need to. I hear people who don't have families and they, are choosing to take it for, I mean, over a year.
Mhm.
And I'm just like, well, just do it. You have so much time in your hands. Like, just want to get it done, get it now.
You don't know. Do it
Exactly.
now.
The more time, right. I mean, as time goes by, risk goes up of things that are outside of your control. So just do it now. Again, for me, I got lucky because I was going to start it in 2020. I didn't, back when I was single and didn't have much responsibility. And luckily, with this alone, I was able to, you know, do it pretty well. And so, I just think don't play with time too much. Just get it done now. There's no better time to get this license. It'll only get harder as you get older. So,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Awesome.
All right, that was the interview with George. And again, it was an awesome interview. I love that he was able to pass the CPA exam without a smartphone. To be honest, that's something that I've been interested in at different points, is not having a phone that's so distracting and just being able to be more present and be more focused. And he was able to pass the CPA exam without a smartphone. And again, that means that he didn't have access to the app. He couldn't do our mini quizzes. He couldn't do our review notes on the go. He had to make time to purposefully do that on his computer. And then, of course, he could listen to the audio notes on his phone because he put them on his phone. But again, it was just an awesome example of the dedication that he had to, no matter what his circumstances were, do the process and pass the exams. And again, he scored extremely well in the 80s and even a 93 on one of his exams. So obviously, the strategies worked really well. And again, this interview with George was a fantastic reminder that no matter who you are, no matter what you're doing, as long as you are implementing the right strategies and focusing and working hard, you can pass the CPA exam. Now, to end the episode, I just want to give everyone one more reminder about the Superfast CPA training webinar on superfastcpa.com. Make sure you go check that out. And something you also should check out, and we're starting to kind of tell people about this, is if you become a Superfast CPA Pro member, we've been creating multiple choice question walkthrough videos of almost every single topic in the CPA exam. I have finished FAR, I'm currently working on audit, and we've done quite a bit for Reg and TCP as well. And again, these are walkthrough videos to walk you through multiple choice questions, teaching you about all the topics in the blueprint for the CPA exam. And Superfast CPA Pro members get access to the full videos because we post kind of smaller videos on YouTube. So again, check out the webinar, check out becoming a pro member. And one last thing, remember this podcast is one of the best free resources out there for CPA exam candidates. So make sure you share this podcast with everybody you know who is going through the CPA exams or who is wanting to start the CPA exams, because again, this will be extremely helpful for them to listen to. Finding the podcast was how George got introduced to Superfast CPA, and again, look at what he was able to accomplish. If you liked the episode, make sure to like it and leave a comment in the YouTube video or leave a rating in your favorite podcast app. Thank you for watching or listening, and we will see you in the next episode.